Interpolated translation for Parshah Beshalach. From Sukot to Eitam. 13:17. As was mentioned before, there were some Israelites who were reluctant to leave Egypt and brave the unknown desert, thinking that the Egyptians would treat them better now that they had suffered so much from the plagues. Pharaoh had to drive these people out of Egypt forcibly. Since they did not leave wholeheartedly, but rather Pharaoh sent these people out, God did not lead them from Sukot via the road to the land of the Philistines, because it was near, and it would have been easy for the people to return to Egypt. For God said, "The people may have a change of heart when they see the inhabitants of the land of Israel go to war against them, and return to Egypt too." 18. So instead, God led the people via the desert road toward the other side of the Sea of Reeds, i.e., northward from Sukot 3 along the west bank of the sea, and then southward, along the east bank of the sea, to Eitam, which is at the edge of the desert 4. The Israelites were armed when they went up from Egypt. 19. Moses took the bones of Joseph and his brothers with him, for Joseph had bound the sons of Israel by an oath that they should in turn bind their descendants by an oath, saying, "God will surely remember you and your descendants, and when he does, you shall have your descendants take up my bones from here together with yours." 5. 20. Thus, on the 16th of Nisan, they moved on from Sukot and encamped at Eitam, at the edge of the desert. 21. Beginning at Sukot, God went before them by day in a pillar of cloud so that it guide them along the way, and by night in a pillar of fire so that it give them light, so that they could travel day and night. In addition to guiding them, the pillar of cloud leveled the ground and killed any snakes or scorpions in their way. 6. Besides the pillar of cloud in front of them, God surrounded the people from all 4 sides, above and below. 7, with clouds that protected them from the elements. 8, and from attack. 9, and cleaned and pressed their clothes. 10. These clouds also served as an honor guard. In the merit of Aaron. 11. They also expelled anyone who committed a sin from within them. 12. And thus gave the people constant feedback on their spiritual status. They did not surround the mixed multitude that accompanied the people. 13. In honor of these clouds, the people named this location Sukot, protective shelters. 14. 22. God did not remove the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire at night from before the people. Neither pillar disappeared until the other had first appeared to take its place. Even though they were heading into the desert, the majority of the people did not ask Moses how they were going to survive there. They trusted implicitly that God would provide for them. 15. From Eitam to Pi Hahiroth, misleading the Egyptians. 14:1 The next day, the 17th of Nisan, God spoke to Moses, saying, 2. Although the Egyptians have suffered greatly because of the plagues, only the firstborn actually died. The rest of them have still not received the punishment of death that they deserve for enslaving the Israelites for so long and so ruthlessly. 16. Furthermore, as long as the Egyptian army still survives, the Israelites will never feel entirely freed from their threat. Therefore, speak to the Israelites and let them turn back to Sukot, traveling first northward along the eastern shore of the Sea of Reeds, and then southward along its western shore, and encamp in the valley before the 2 peaks of the original Pittim. 17, which will now be known as Pi Hahiroth, the mouth of freedom, since it is here that I will bring the rest of the Egyptians to their death and thus free the Israelites completely. Have the people camp between Migdol and the sea, stopping before the monument to Baal Zephon. The one Egyptian idol I left intact in order to mislead the Egyptians into thinking that they still have some hope of overcoming you. This will enable me to make their end truly final. You shall encamp opposite it, facing the sea. 3 Pharaoh will then say about the Israelites, they are trapped in the land, the desert has closed in on them. For I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. I will then be glorified in the world's eyes through the end. Pharaoh and his entire army will suffer, and the Egyptians, those who will die here and those who remained in Egypt, will finally know that I am God. Pharaoh began your slavery, so he will be the first to meet his final end. Even though backtracking seemed to be walking straight into the face of danger, the Israelites did this, saying, "We trust Moses implicitly." They arrived at Sukot on the same day and waited. 18. 5 The next day, the 18th of Nisan, the officers Pharaoh sent with the people saw that although the people were returning toward Egypt, they had not returned to Goshen. They therefore went and informed Pharaoh of this. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his courtiers had a change of heart towards the people. When they thought about all their possessions they had lent them, they said, "What is this that we have done, sending Israel away from our service?" 6 On the 19th of Nisan, he harnessed his chariot himself and convinced his people to go with him. He reminded them of how they had suffered because of the Israelites and how they had made off with their possessions. Furthermore, he promised to lead them himself into battle and to divide the spoils with them equally. 7 He took 600 choice chariots, as well as the rest of the chariots of Egypt, harnessing all the horses that had survived the plagues, with officers in command of them all. Confident of victory, the Egyptians adorned their horses lavishly with gold and silver ornaments and precious stones. 19 It was the God-fearing Egyptians who had taken the trouble to save their animals from the plagues. But even these Egyptians deserved to die, because they hated the Israelites rabidly, as evinced by their readiness to offer Pharaoh the use of their animals, and had persecuted them sadistically. God therefore coerced Pharaoh to take these people into battle in order to do away with them. 20. 8 Before setting out, Pharaoh wavered momentarily, but God hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the Israelites. It took him 2 days, the 19th and 20th of Nisan, to reach them. In contrast to Pharaoh's hesitation, the Israelites had left with arms held high, confident in God's well-established ability to overcome the Egyptians.